Recently, I've been hit with the realization that even if I make my own wardrobe and everything is perfect, it is not perfect, and things don't last forever. Especially when I hand sew, things don't last forever. And when I first started, I don't know, you make some kind of mistakes. One of them is you choose the wrong fabric. You thought you bought the fabric from a store and they will be great, and they turn out to be very fragile fabric that doesn't last in the wash, and they die. So I can't believe even this top, this one, this lace used to be pink. So yeah, what happened? Today, I've decided that my plan is to remake one of my Lolita pieces, which is my white dress. It's very conveniently, I had a comment. Someone wanted a tutorial on how to make Lolita dress, step-by-step tutorial. I already foresee that it's not gonna be a very straightforward tutorial because yeah. So I have this whole box of all my earlier works that didn't last the test of time, and I'm remaking like my favorite pieces, like the sunflower top, which I already remade, and I think I'll slowly work towards dealing with this box, but this time I'm gonna redo the white dress. Yeah. So this fabric is a little bit fragile, I think. That's why it's not doing so well. But it has been through a lot of styling, so I think it's very versatile. This is not a very typical Lolita dress though, so I don't know if this answers the question for how to make a Lolita dress, because I guess I'll give some tips, but this is not exactly how you make a Lolita dress. So yeah, this dress, I made this dress I think closer to the pandemic, when the white tent dress was so in, and I really wanted a tent dress, a loose fitting, nothing fits at the bust or the waist, it's just like kind of dress was what I really wanted when I made this dress. So I wanted it to be able to be really big, loose and tenty, and I also wanted to close with drawstring maybe, or be able to be belted. Put a skirt over and it's a defined waist thing. Yeah, it's a very versatile dress. It's not a very typical Lolita dress. Yeah, so yeah. The whole thing is that I think the drawstring at the front kind of died on me. And look at this. This is the reason that I have to fix this dress every time after the wash. It is very heavy and drapey, that's why it keeps tearing on itself. And I think it's a very loose weave, so I think that's why it keeps tearing on itself. I'm gonna repurpose the lace though, even though I don't think the lace is as white as the fabric. I don't know, it doesn't look much different on camera. But yeah, I'm just gonna redo this. So I made almost my whole Lolita wardrobe, but then this dress in section is actually a bought dress. It's not that like detailed or anything, it's very, very standard. I honestly bought this dress just to know how full the skirt is. So I have a reference guide, just a little bit. And it is like the basis of all my other dresses. So yeah, I mean, you can go that route if you want to learn how to make a Lolita dress. Buy one and see. But in the end, it's just a dress. So it just needs to fit bodies, and everyone's body is their own body. So if you have a pattern that fits you, you can make the dress, you can make all the details on the dress be whatever you want. Ta-da! That's the measurements I've gathered. Those are without seam allowances. Down here, they are all rectangles, so this will be easy. Lucky for me, not so lucky for you. I used to be good at this. I saved patterns. So I don't have to figure this out again. But it's harder to explain what I figured out the last time. So what I have here is just extra white stuff. And they're both drawn on a fold. And yeah, and there is an armpit dot here. That's all I can tell you. I don't really know. Yeah, it's just really wide, and this part is gathered. These are all straight cuts, and that's a arm hole, and that's the shoulder, which is diagonally up. I can't tell you how I made this pattern. I just knew that I kind of made something. I wore it on, and the adjustment I needed was an armpit dot. Yeah, so I'm just gonna follow this. Freshly out of the dryer. I'm not ironing it, I think. I don't feel like ironing it, but yeah, I remember cutting linen is such a tedious thing, so yeah, I'm gonna cut out the strips of rectangles that I need. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that now. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna stitch are pockets. My usual way. I have a video of how I do pockets. The usual way. I'm not gonna elaborate more, just gonna do it. And the next time I see you, it's done. I don't really know how I'm gonna do this, but I know that I still want that crisscross ribbon thing around my neck when I want it, but I don't want to make it completely removable because I will lose it. And I don't want to do the traditional tube thing, so I'm just whipping the sides. Yeah, so I'm just pre-making it, and I'll figure it out later. So my old top, it was finished with bias binding, and there's actually stress points at the sides because it's a square neckline, so those places are stress spots. And the improvement I can make here is that I can actually make facing, but I don't like how facing flaps around. And then there's also the fact that actually if I do lining, there's a lot of things that I don't have to finish afterwards. Like, okay, the neckline. I also can hide the seams of the sleeves inside that lining fabric. And that first gather stitches I can also hide inside. So it will kill so many birds with one stone. So that's the plan. Yeah. And since I'm hand sewing, I also would want to make my hand stitches really strong. So I decided that my top layer, I am going to actually do felling stitches, which is like the kind of stitches you see on jeans. I've done it a few times. So when I say felling on the outside, this is actually the right side of the fabric, and my raw edges are on the right side. And then here's the nice top stitch, that's stitching, and this is the back side of the stitching. So I've ironed it open, and then I just have to cut this one down like this, and then iron all the other side here, and then fold it down and fell it down to the fabric. So this is the difference between a felt seam and a normal seam. So when you pull on this, it's a bit, yeah, you can see my stitches. And if you pull on this, it's just a little bit more sturdy. I'm still scared, but hopefully it's better. That's all I'm counting on. Now I want to finish the neckline by putting the lining down. Okay, I finished the neckline with the real drawstring channel, which is a bit bulky, but yeah, it is what it is, so it's fine. I'm gonna film how to make cuffs. So what you need is that you need 2 rectangles of fabric and then 1 rectangle of lace fabric. And then the first step you do is that you gather this so that it is the same length as this. Okay, so I did 2 running stitches and then now I just have to pull, and that's how you gather. Yeah, let's clip one side down and gather. Now you can arrange your gathers so they're just evenly spread. Roughly. I would much rather have more fullness on the middle than on the sides. Yay! Yeah, then I would sandwich the next piece on top. Okay, then you make a stitch there. Okay, now that it's sewn, you can open it up. Check if you like your gathering. If you don't, then maybe you can redo it. And then donut it. Line corner to corner. And then for this one, you sew the lace up first. Yeah, so you tuck it aside and then pin this one up. Okay, so now you flip it up so that the lace is at the bottom and the cuff is at the top. You get cuff. I have 2 of it. Yay! So I'm trying to make a new bishop sleeve pattern, but I'm not doing a full length bishop sleeve, so yeah, it's not very conventional, but I'm hoping that my patterning this time would be better. So I've already cut from the straight standard sleeve pattern a 3/4 sleeve minus cuff length. So yeah, this is where I will cut if I actually wanted a 3/4 sleeve. So I have cuffs already made, so I minus the cuff, and this is where where the pattern is now. So with this, I need to section it. And then cut. Yeah, so I have to spread this out. Hopefully more than I do in the past. Hopefully hopefully enough this time. Sometimes I'm a bit stingy and sometimes I just do too much. And that's why I keep remaking a pattern. Yeah, I have to paste this on another piece of paper. Washi tape is not that sticky. I just ran out of scotch tape. That's quite sad. But I'm gonna draw a line that is kind of extends out because it's supposed to be the gathering balloony look. Wish me luck. I was on Pinterest. They don't draw it like this, but I'm gonna draw it like this, and I hope I don't regret. Because this is half a sleeve. Most of them I see them draw on the full sleeve, and the curve is different on both sides. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's just hope this is okay, acceptable, maybe. As I predicted, the tape is not sticky, so I kind of just peeled off that after I cut them out, and then I had to do piecing here, so yeah, I hope that lasts at least for the cutting. I just have to cut this now. Okay, I just have to sew up the side seams and then add this to the cuff. I'll check back to you after that. I finished it. So the side seam, this one, is French seamed, and then it's gathered and sewn into the cuffs. Sewn with a back stitch onto the front of the cuff, and then the back of the cuff is the same, folded and whipped. Yay! Actually, from here on out, I just sporadically filmed myself. I didn't actually have a step-by-step filming done to it, but I'm gonna explain it now. After this transition clip. Lol. So almost everything here is repetitive. So everything is sewn like the cuff, because you just gather a strip of rectangle to the size of the smaller rectangle, and you sew it in. So almost the whole tier is sewn like that, especially the first tier. So the first tier is sewn like that as well, because I have a lining inside. So technically there is two of the shorter rectangle and one of the longer rectangle. So you just have to sandwich this like you sandwich the lace. So, and then the inside layer is finished nicely with a whip stitch. Yeah, by folding the raw edge and then whipping it down. And you're whipping it down at the stitch line. So actually all your whipping is not seen at the front. And then the only thing that is left at the front that you can choose to take out later, which I didn't, is actually one of the two rows of the gathering stitches. Guys, I've took off most of them. Okay, I've took off most of them, so I can't show you. But for the second row, now that this is one layer and this is also one layer, then your raw edges aren't really hidden. For those, I went back to bias binding. So this part is binded. So what I did is that I stitched them up good side to good side. So we're at the back, and I stitched the gathered piece into the shorter piece. And then after I finished that, I went back and did the bias binding to the raw edge. So yeah, so it's a bit more tedious, but that's why it was done. And for my last here, you could do that too, but what I chose to do is to pretend that there is a him. Okay, yeah, I pretend that there is a him, but then there is this edge, the lace edge at the bottom, so you can actually do a folded hem up, because I want the lace edge. So what I did is that I have a very long rectangle. I just cut a very long rectangle, actually out of fabric that I pre-cut, but it was the wrong size, so I have a lot of leftovers. So I pieced them up together, piecing, to form a very, very long rectangle that is the width of the skirt, the end of the skirt. So the drill is that I gathered the lace, sewn it to the main skirt, and then at the same time sandwich this long piece of rectangle, so that at the end, when I finish the lace edge, I can fold up the rectangle and then did a blanket stitch like a hem. So it's a hem. Yeah, you can see the whip stitch from the front. Yeah. After hand sewing for a while, I kind of just realized that it's no big deal if you can see exposed stitches. On the first dress, I was so scared of exposed stitches because I thought I wanted a clean look. But then now I realized that, yeah, it doesn't really matter. The stitches are like something you see from up close, so from a distance you don't actually notice. So it's fine. So one of the fine details that I've put on this dress is that I didn't put on the first one until quite further back, is some belt loops. I don't really need it for a 10th dress actually, but when I wanted to style it with different collars, I sometimes want extra details like at the waist. So belt loops are good for that. The last time I looped a ribbon and tied a ribbon at the back. It's also kind of cool because if I want the apron to start a bit higher up, I can loop the strap of the apron to this, and then it will hold it in place instead of it dropping down to my natural waist. I think that would be cool. So what I did here was that after making the loop, I basted it down to the borders, and then I sewed the skirt on. And then this part is just raw. Yeah, this part is just raw. I don't know how to improve on that, but right now it's just raw. I did like a half-ass buttonhole stitch on that just to cover a little bit of the raw part. I didn't do a sturdy job. Maybe I should. For the neck crisscross thing, I also just stitched it on in the lining, so you can see the stitches at the front, but I stitched it on the lining. I think if you planned it really, really well, you could have put it in between the lining and the... Yeah, but I didn't want to do that because then you will show no matter what at the top. I kind of wanted to, when I didn't use it, to hide like further down in the dress. So that's why I did it on the lining. It's still a very clean look at the front, you can see it. And I think having a lining fabric, lining layer on the borders just means that it's a little bit more opaque. So every time I put a colorful collar on, you can actually see it from the front. So yeah, that's one improvement there. Yeah, because my previous one, when I put the strawberry collar on, you kind of can see it peeking. Yeah, that's the dress. I mean, it's almost visually the same as the previous one, so is there a need for a review video? But I think it'd be fun if I just tried on all my colors with it. So let's see that. I find it kind of fascinating that my detachable collars consist of navy blue, pink, navy blue, red, pink. So yeah, I know why. Is because these are colors that I don't normally wear that much. So when I want to court these colors, I kind of don't invest a whole garment of them. Yeah, I should diversify. Why are all my detachable colors these colors?